You can hear me okay, right?
Yes, I can hear you great. Oh, I'm amazed my AirPods work because the other day I was driving and I like to be reckless when I drive with my open mug of coffee. And
Oh, you're one
sure
of those
enough,
weirdos.
oh yeah, brave, dumb, need a little risk in my life. Anyway, my coffee spilled all over my console and into my cup holders and everything. And I thought I had gotten it, but it's like dark coffee. Ugh. And I dropped my AirPod case and then I pulled it out of my console like a day later and it was like, let's
Be-
just say my AirPods got a coffee bath. And I had like day old coffee too, which is gross. I'm gonna say it's gross. I really thought I'd gotten it.
I have
But I
so
was in
many
a rush.
questions. I have so many questions. What makes you think an open cup of coffee in a car is a good idea?
Okay, hear me out.
What if you're wearing white?
Listen, I'm usually in a rush, okay? That's my own fault with my time management lack of.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it's a great ab workout because then I have to like brace myself for every bump to try to absorb the splash of my coffee. And so I
Oh my
am
God.
like working out at the same time. Does it create absolute chaos? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Do my children also know to sometimes hold? Do sometimes I have to come home and change because it was an unsuccessful time?
Oh my God.
100%. Or do I occasionally spill it all over my console and I drowned my tiny Kylo Ren figure I have on there? Yes,
Well,
I did.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas or your birthday. Hello. Hello. How are you? As you
One of
spit
those.
coffee
I just
everywhere.
forget. No, I have one. That's all I'm gonna
Mhm.
say is I have one. There is an
Okay.
option. I just
Well,
am not using it responsibly.
oh my God. Well, cheers to recording early this morning. We both did not wake up when our
Cheers.
alarms went off. So, but we're here and we're excited because we're doing a little bit of a special episode today.
We are. So we've teased it a few times. We've talked about it, but on our Patreon, we have a book club that we would really love for people to come join us. So today we thought we'd give what a book club looks like so kind of everyone can experience it. And then we're really hoping you'll come join us on Patreon because if you enjoy this and you like to deep dive books and really like gush and or lament, that's where this opportunity is. And so we would really love to have those conversations with you. So we're going to talk about our July book club and what kind of all that entails. And then, yeah, then we'll also announce our next book club at the end of this
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, let's
Excellent.
do it.
Excellent. Because I told you I took 4 dozen pictures of our book yesterday.
Yes, yes, we need to post those. Oh my goodness. Well, I know that we're going to talk about our book club book, but what are you reading right now?
So I'm actually in between because I haven't had the opportunity to start. Like I finished our book club book and then I've just been too busy to really like jump into a new book right now. But I have a lineup of witchy books for the month of August. So I have our book club book, which is witchy. We'll announce that. I have my other book club book, which is also witchy. It's the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches.
Oh, I wanted to read that one. Maybe I should read it
Yeah,
with you.
great. By Sangu Madonna. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Madonna. That was our book club book. That's the one we picked. And so I'm very excited for that. And then I also have a book which I've not posted on our feed yet, but I'm going to definitely post on our Bookish Ambitions feed that I am very excited about. It's an author I've gushed about over and over and over again on our podcast. So I've got those lined up. And I think that's going to be my month of reading, basically.
Cool. I love it.
But you?
I just finished Under Lock and Key, which
Mhm.
can we just take a minute?
Sure.
So, did you see the new Wicker Man
Mhm.
trailer that everybody
Mhm.
is talking about on BookTok
Mhm.
because we're like, BookTok created this. So if
But
you
did
have not
it?
seen this, no, if you have not seen this trailer, I encourage everyone to go watch it. It's a film out of the UK. The cast is completely stacked. It looks incredible, but it's literally about a man made of basket who is created to be Olivia Colman's husband. And there are scenes, as we see in the trailer, I call them scenes. And, anyways, so last night I'm explaining to my husband what this is. I show him the trailer and I'm explaining to him what monster romances are. And I'm explaining to him that there is such a thing as sentient object romance. And he was like, "What are you reading?" And I was
That
like,
was
"Listen,
literally our book club book last month was The Blob, a love story.
yeah, so bizarre, y'all. This is so funny to me." But anyways, so I was having this conversation with my sister-in-law about monster romances, and this is before this Wicker band trailer even came out. And she was like, "You should read Under Lock and Key. It's like dipping your toe in." And I was like, "Okay." She's like, "It's about a guy who's a Loch Ness monster. It's set in Scotland." I was like, "Oh, love this." And so I read it. It was interesting. I did text you about halfway through. I was about 45% through the book, and I was like, I'm a little bored because there was a lot of build up to it. But when the things finally did start happening, I would just like to say that he was never fully Loch Ness in the scenes, and I think that's important to acknowledge because that would have been a bridge too far for me. But like parts of him would change. Like, it was interesting. I don't know. I don't think this is my genre. I really don't. I think it's funny. Like I was kind of laughing and I was like, well, that's a choice, as I'm reading it. I was like, well, you know, and my favorite part of the whole thing is he would be like, "No, this is terrible." And she's like, "Actually, this is fine. Let's keep it going." And I was like, because I've never read like the Ice Planet Barbarians. I was never interested in that. There was definitely like a forked tongue moment in this book that I was like, weird, it's interesting, but I wasn't like, I'm gonna run out now and read all the monster romances. So I think I've decided that this is not the genre for me, and I shall stick to my wide chooses. And yeah,
To
it
be
was
devil's
interesting.
advocate, though, in all fairness, I do think you do like monster romances, but you like them to be very humanoid, like human presenting as like vampires and werewolves.
Oh,
But I don't know if you
true.
do a lot of werewolf romance because sometimes those start to border
Yeah,
much
they
more
get
like I think the monster territory than like
yeah.
vampires do.
Vampires are like their own genre. I would just like to say,
Okay.
vampires are
Well,
their own
arguably,
genre.
I think they could fall under the monster umbrella. But sure, I hear you.
So that was interesting. I just thought that was kind of fascinating because I was going through a journey the same time the entire country was going through a journey because they released this trailer, and everybody was like, "What am I okay with?" And I mean, the videos online have been hilarious. People going to like Home Goods and like taking pictures of the basket aisle and like posting some funny comment.
Yeah.
It's been really funny to watch the internet react to that. So I thought that was interesting. So yeah, I just finished that. I don't know what I'm going to read next. I have a Abby Jimenez book on my TBR that's been sitting there that I would really like to read. So I might read that one. And yeah, I'm trying to read romance because I'm writing romance. So I try to read within my genre. So that's probably what I'll do.
Excellent. Okay,
I
yes,
know I derailed us.
Yeah, the Wicker stuff has been so good. I also had to try to explain that to a friend, like what this was, and I was like, I don't, unless you're on my Instagram algorithm, I don't know if this makes sense.
My very special, curated,
Uh-huh.
masked men and Wicker Instagram algorithm, which is so bizarre.
It comes out October 30th. Like that's when it releases in theaters. So
Oh.
it is like a romance Halloween movie. Enjoy.
So it was actually based on a short story. I did see
Yeah.
this. Somebody was talking about it and they said that it was a short story that was written by somebody. So I do love that because I was like, is this a book? Because if it is, girl needs to read it. Because I was like curious.
I
But
think short
yeah,
stories still fall under our like potential book content,
yeah,
podcast content.
absolutely.
So
I mean, I think I don't know. I cannot remember where it came from. So I feel like we may have to do a deep dive into this movie at some point because I would like to know the origins of the movie. I would like to know how the cast reacted when they read the script because I mean, like I said, it's stacked. It has Olivia Colman, it has Peter Dinklage, it has one of the Skarsgårds plays the Wicker Man.
Alexander Skarsgård.
Yep. It has the girl from the other Bennett sister. It has the
Mm-hmm.
girl who played Princess Diana in The Crown. I mean, the cast is stacked.
Yeah.
So clearly, like, they saw something in it. So I want to know what that thing was.
And I just feel like you're having a monster week because arguably some people would argue that Sweeney Todd is also a monster, but a different kind of monster.
That's true.
So
Yeah, I
I
did
think
go
you're just
see
having like
Sweeney
a monster
Todd.
theme
Yeah.
week.
Well, we're getting into fall, and I love all things Halloween, so this feels on track for me. So
Same. Unfortunately, my witchy lineup makes me very sad that it's 103 degrees where I live because I'm like, y'all are, the outside is killing the vibe, okay?
It's like 100 degrees here too, actually, which is really
Yeah.
sad. I took my daughters to go see the astronauts at the Red Rocks Amphitheater. If you've been on the internet, you may have seen this was a huge event. It sold out in 10 minutes. We were lucky to get tickets, and we were also very lucky to have a seat near the front. So we were very
You guys
close
had
to the
great
stage.
seats.
Yeah, but let me tell you, I thought we were going to die because it was so hot. And the reason why it's so hot in Colorado is because of the smoke is like covering us and creating
And
this like,
trapping, like making a heat
yeah,
dome. Yeah.
yep. So send your thoughts and prayers to all the places that are on fire because it's bad. So this is so
Yeah.
random. Sorry, we're being so random this morning. I apologize. It's me. It's me.
Because we usually
I'm the
like
problem.
chat a
It's
little
me.
before we jump in, and we just jumped in today. So welcome to our unfiltered thoughts.
Oh, good times.
Okay. Speaking of unfiltered thoughts, romance, monster romance, because I will broad umbrella. Okay, because I told you this author who wrote our July book club pick also has other books, and I told you should read The Dead Romantics. Is her first book, and I think very, very broadly it might fall under the monster, but like at the very, very tail
Really?
end, deep, look, it's a ghost story. Ish.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure that's on my holds
I was
here
gonna,
on the Libby app.
yeah. I was about to say, if you're really looking for something to read, I would actually recommend you just dive into that one.
Yeah, I think I put several of her books on. Well, maybe not.
No, because
Mm.
I told you for your book in particular, you needed to read the other love song. What is it? I don't
Oh, Sounds
remember.
Like Love. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there we go.
That one's on my list too. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay, well, you better introduce the book now that we've been talking about it.
So
So,
excellent. So our July book club pick was The 7-Year Slip, and I'm holding up a copy for those who are watching us, but also those who are listening. I'm holding up a copy. And I just want to provide a warning that this episode will have spoilers. So if you're wanting to save the 7-Year Slip and to savor for yourself, ask that you slip back and listen to some of our past episodes. If you have not before, just revisit your favorite. That's all. So let's dive in. This book is about an overworked book publicist with a perfectly planned future that hits a snag when she falls in love with her temporary roommate, only to discover that he lives 7 years in the past. So, 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. Let's talk about it. This book explores themes of like navigating complex grief, accepting like painful life changes, and finding the courage to pursue personal happiness, which I think this is one of those books, which when we talked to Emily Henry, I said like the funny story found me at the right time. This book found me the same summer as Funny Story. And it like was a really interesting theme that I kept accidentally stumbling into with my
yeah,
reading. I didn't even mean to, purely by accident. And I was like, oh, universe, are we sending me messages
right.
through books? I don't know. But this book highlights how self-discovery and learning like to live your life fully after loss is really, really great. It's a overarching theme. And I would say it's almost like coming of age, but coming back into yourself.
It's my
Yeah.
life theme. It's my
Same.
life theme.
And yeah, I would say the acceptance of change. It's interesting because I would also argue there's a lot of push to like not only change, but remember the best parts of you too. Like don't let the change so far overtake you so much that you forget some of like the core of who you are.
Actually, that was like one of my favorite little subplot lines in this book was his journey
Mm-hmm.
and who he was in the present versus who
Mm-hmm.
he was in the past and how that time had changed him.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that. And I loved that like little journey he had of like remembering and rediscovering who he was in the midst of it all. It was so good.
Right. Okay. I had some questions to form our discussion, but now I'm like, oh, do we jump ahead like a couple of questions or not? We'll come back. We're gonna
No,
come
go
back to
back to
that
your
thought.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm
So
holding this thought.
okay, great. I always cross my fingers when I'm holding a thought. How did you, so I don't forget, What did you enjoy most about the book? Because this is your first time reading it. This is my, like, I don't even know, maybe fifth time reading it. So what did you enjoy most about the book?
You're gonna laugh.
No,
You're gonna
I
laugh.
will, baby, but it will be a good laugh, not a ridiculous laugh.
I really enjoyed the time jumps.
Mm.
I know. I know because if you recall in past episodes I said that I do not think that I like books that time hop because I had read Happy Place by Emily Henry and I had tried to read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune and I hated. And I had mentioned that there was a book by Christina Lauren that time jumped that I did like because of the way that it built to the climax was so brilliantly crafted. This one, I like every time she walked in the apartment, I was like, yes. I was like, come on. I mean, I devoured this book, y'all. I literally read it in probably 24 hours and I cried my eyes out. And I don't typically cry when I read books. I think I was texting you in the middle of I was just like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed the way she handled the time jumping. And I think there's this one scene where she sees him in the present and she had just been with him in the past and they had in the past they had and she sees him in the present the day after and he's like, are you okay? You're and she's like, I'm hungover, and she says something and he goes, oh, it was that night. Like, it was just crazy. It was crazy how that worked. And it was so the tension was she built the tension so nicely because he was so different in the present than he had been in the past. And so every time she would see him in the present, it wasn't the same like response as when she saw him in the past. And yeah, it was just brilliant. It was brilliant.
Okay, I love that you said that because I had one of my questions. So I was like, how did you feel about the time hopping? Because we had talked about that before. So we can
Yeah.
I love that you enjoyed it. It doesn't time hop like where you're going back and forth, back and forth. You're actually
No.
staying very much in a present moment. But like the timelines are unfolding around that present moment.
Yeah.
Because the apartment is the only thing that's time hopping. It's going back 7 years.
Yeah.
Or it's moving forward 7 years. And so your characters are actually very much always themselves in that present moment.
I thought what was so interesting about it was that she was always the same, but he wasn't. So when he was in the apartment, it was him 7 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But when he was in the present, it was him, like the 7 years had passed. And
Mm-hmm.
so I thought that was so interesting. But then, like, the more I thought about it, the sadder I got because he had been waiting 7 years.
Right. Yeah. So you have to kind
And
of, yeah,
yeah, and
that's a
so
little
like it
heartbreaking.
at the end when you realize like that he had literally been waiting for her and that he had seen her in the past when they didn't know each other. They had an interaction and she didn't know
Mm-hmm.
him and it probably broke his freaking heart. And I'm like, when you realize that towards the end of the book, it really changes your whole perspective of how everything went down. And I remember just like that was when I started sobbing because you realize how much he had been carrying for 7 years. Oh my God. Like, I'm getting
Okay.
chills just talking about it.
I gotta,
So I think, yeah, the way that she did the time hopping was like, it should be a masterclass because I think that when people write books and they want to go back and forth, I
Mhm.
think that the way that we see it in novels today is overdone and we
Mhm.
need more of this. We need more different. I don't want you to recall the summers. I think that, you think about Every Summer After, it would have been so much more interesting if instead of a chapter in the past, a chapter in the future, a chapter in the past, a chapter in the future, it would have been so much more interesting if as whatever her Persephone, whatever her name was going through the present, was going through the experience of being back in that place, if there were moments and things that triggered memories that allowed you to kind of realize what had happened. I don't enjoy this chapter here, chapter here, chapter here, chapter here nonsense. And when you think about this book, she could have easily done that. She could have done something very similar, but she didn't. And it's cool and it's different and it's really fun to read. So
I will tell you, this is a book that needs to be reread, because like that subtleness of like at the end where they have that moment they meet each other and they don't really like recognize. So I've started tabbing it because I listened to it on audiobook, but I've slowly been like annotating my copy because there's just parts I love. And I'm going to tell you that when you reread it, you start to realize small details of where they see each other and you don't recognize it. So,
my
and it's so
gosh.
beautiful the way the details of this book unfold. So, you know, the very beginning when they're at lunch, her and her friends are at lunch
That
and
was
she
him,
runs,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
where he says lemon and you're
Yeah.
like, oh God, okay. And you don't know it until you don't like until
Right.
later and you're like, oh my God, yes. But
Yeah.
like the first time I think those are exciting. Also, like when she does it for all the settings too, right? Like, cause you're kind of wondering how she's not recognizing him, like, or where when she's, but you also have to remember it's just unfolding for her, and he has to be patient and wait for her to also have that summer, cause he,
I mean, that's what's so crazy about it. Like, so when he ran into her at the restaurant, he knew it was her.
yeah, cause he
But
says
she,
lemon, he's like, oh. And actually, Drew had just been talking about, she's like, I want this chef because he talks about the summer he turned 26 and it being really important. And I'd love to know
oh
more
my
details
God.
about that. And it's like, oh, you
It
know
just
it.
hurt.
Like, we know what summer this is now, but it's very exciting.
It just hurts even more because, like, he knew, like, he had experienced everything and then he had waited for her and she hadn't even experienced it yet.
Well, and then there's this other part too, where like rereading it again, I had missed completely before. And Clementine's going to get lunch at a food truck. And she's like, and there's a yellow one, like with a line down the street, and they're serving fajitas, but they're not as good as the fajitas Iwan made me. And they're Miguel and Issa's fajitas. Like, she just hasn't
Yeah.
experienced them yet. And like, she has had them, but she hasn't met them yet. But like,
Yeah.
she's just like casually like noting, like, oh, this fajita truck, there's no way they're as good. And it's actually their fajitas, which I think is fun. Like, so there's
Yeah.
like these like fun little details in the book that like once you've read it once or maybe twice and then you go back, you're like, that was a really cool detail that I missed before. Like, I just think she was very brilliant in her detailing. The only reason I encourage you to do Dead Romantics is because she also does a beautiful job of her past characters making a subtle appearance in her new books. And so like there's fun little Easter eggs like that. So if you read the Dead Romantics and then you think back to the 7-year slip, you're going to be like, wait a minute. And it's a really fun
Yeah.
Easter egg. And
That's
I will
fun.
say, if you continue to read her books, it's not like you ever say goodbye to these characters forever. You're never going to have like a full story with them, but you're going to have a moment where you're like, there you are. Like, because
I
I
love
don't know.
that.
I love these characters. I fell in love with them along when I first read it, and they've been some of my favorite ever.
I like them too. They're like people. They're very human and a very humany. I don't even know how to explain it. You read like, like I'll go back to Every Summer After and like Happy Place because I read right before I read the 7-year slip. And I just didn't love the characters. I didn't connect with them. I didn't feel like I was rooting for them. I was like, you are acting like a fool. I think what I loved about this book was she put a lot of soul into both characters and, you know, kind of understanding and she does start giving you glimpses into why they are the way they are in a way that wasn't so like, introspective, but like through experience, I guess I should say.
Mhm.
And I don't know, they were just so endearing. They were just so lovely. Even when the main character I thought was like being a jerk and not being himself, you still were like rooting for him. You know what I mean? Like you were like, come on, dude, get it together.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't even like me thinking he's being a jerk. I think it was that
Was
really good
hurt.
character. What?
I said he was hurt.
Yeah, like I think it was really good character development and that like you recognize like, oh, like she's experiencing him young, just starting out very fresh-eyed, very like early in his passion. And what I think is so interesting, right? The whole point of the apartment is it brings you at a point when you're at a juxtaposition in your life. And so if you think about it, like Clementine, yes, was going through her journey of trying to discover her own new personal passions and kind of rediscovering herself and like what really she wanted other than just like doing it because it was the easy thing and it was comfortable and she didn't like change. He also needed her to experience him at 26 so he could be reminded of that 26-year-old that started out because, I think at the point when I found this book, I was going through my own, like kind of the start of my career being very different than maybe what I thought it was going to be. And I was very
Yeah.
much that bright, ambitious person who like came in with like, I want to do great things and I want to change the world and I want to make impact. And then I was at a point where it'd been like kind of harsh reality of that
Yeah.
had hit me a lot. And I was at a
Yeah.
burnout point and it was like, oh, this is a very interesting book to be reading at this time for me because I could really relate to Iwan where he like had gotten more concerned about doing the thing the way that would be accepted than doing it the way that made him passionate and actually made him stand
Right.
out.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because like he needed to experience the apartment at 26 with Clementine there so she could then remind him 7 years in the future. Like that's the
Yeah.
juxtaposition he was at too.
It's really interesting too, because you think about it and when they're together in the present, like I think about the scene where he does take her to the food truck to meet his friends,
Mhm.
who are the best, by the way. And like he wouldn't have done that if she hadn't been there. You know what I mean? Like, because they say, like, you haven't been here in a long time, dude. We haven't seen you. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And you can see that, like, just her being in his life is like reminding him, and like he starts taking her to these things that he didn't get to share with her before, And yeah, that's really cool. Such a good
Yeah.
book.
It is such a good book. And like so I asked like there are a lot of strong relationships in the book and it's not just like couples, right? Though we do have like a lot of couples that are very like the romantic relationships are very strong in this book, but so are the friend relationships, so are the family relationships, right?
Yeah.
Um, is there any particular one that was your favorite, or you just also thought was a really good standout, like good couple or good
Well,
relationship that felt really good to you or brought nostalgia?
yeah. I mean, gosh, I love them all. I'm like sitting here looking at the names. I'm like, I can't pick. I mean, I loved Fiona and Drew. I loved them as a couple. I love them as characters, but I also love them as friends for Clementine.
Don't worry.
And just like they were like little mirrors and little like Jiminy Crickets, and I just love them. And I think we all need a Fiona and Drew in our life. Also, my daughter's name is Fiona, so I was like very partial to the fact that she used this name in this book because you don't see it very often unless it's set in Scotland or Ireland. Um, but yeah, no, I love them so much. From like page one, I was like in love with them. I'm pretty sure I texted you that. I texted you, I was like, oh my God, I love her friends. Like, I want
Yes.
them in my life. How do I find a
Yes.
Fiona and Drew? They were so great.
No, they were
So great.
wonderful. And I think I loved the representation in this book. I think that was really great.
So good. Yes.
Without like feeling like it was really forced because I feel like sometimes representation feels forced and that makes me frustrated when that happens because
Yeah.
it's like it's not that I don't want the representation. I just don't like it when it feels like it's very much used as a device as opposed to
Right.
like just letting it be natural. And it felt very natural in this book.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. It was just like, yeah, I never questioned it or thought about
Mhm.
it, to be
Right.
honest. Like the way she wrote
Right.
it was so just, this is it. But
Yeah.
I really did also love the couple who owned the food truck and who went to college with Iwan.
Yeah.
Um,
Miguel and Issa. And then you learn about their tattoos and that's so cute.
yeah, they were hilarious. I also like just loved them for the fact that like when you meet him, he's very stuffy. He's kind of in this like hoity-toity chef
Mhm.
world. And then, but when he's with them, they're just like ribbing on him constantly. And they're
Mm.
like, again,
Yeah,
he like that was
grounding
his,
him.
yes, that was his Fiona and Drew. He needed,
Mhm.
he needed them. And I love that she took the time to write their relationship into the book.
Mhm.
You don't get to exactly see it, but you get to hear him talk about why they're so important to him and stuff. And so that was really cool. I also did love that Miguel was at his opening, and even and that was, so you see how like he was trying to keep things in his life from his earlier years, but he wasn't doing it very well. And I thought that scene was really important, and the way that she wrote it was very, very important to his
Yeah.
journey.
No, I completely agree. I think all the relationships and like what was also really great about this book is sometimes we get romances and then like those two, our two main characters become so central to each other that they kind of like everyone else feels forgotten. However, because like so much of the journey is their own individual journeys because they are only able to see each other in these like time moments and then rediscovering each other in present. I just felt like it did a good job of them developing themselves as persons outside
Yeah.
with like, but the two, like ideally, right, your partner is somebody, or like, me saying as a single person who's done a lot of work on like this, like it's just ideally you would want a partner who brings out the best of you, who also like helps support you and reflect, or like that's what I would want in a partner. And so I thought that was always something I really loved about Iwan and Clementine's relationship is they help remind each other who they are at the core, like the parts they love
Yeah.
most about each other, but then also like kind of push them a little bit out of their comfort zones and are very supportive and very much like treat each other as equals at all times.
Yeah. I do think it is interesting as I'm listening to you talking and thinking about especially Clementine's professional
Mm-hmm.
journey and the book and how it unfolded over here. And
Mm-hmm.
and he really wasn't a part of it until the end when you
Mm-hmm.
realize that they met each other before she
Yeah.
knew who he was when she was young. And yeah, it was so cool to like have that be separate from her relationship with him. You're absolutely right. Because I do think that in a lot of books, when we're romanticizing romance, right, we're romanticizing a couple, there can be some unhealthy things. And especially when
Right.
it comes to like
Or just like a
discovering
lot
who
of
you are.
codependence. And like I'm not saying
Yes.
all
Yeah.
codependent relationships are unhealthy, right? But I'm just
Right.
saying as somebody who like my ideal relationship would be interdependence, where like two healthy individuals are like very kind of independent of one another. And I know that's not
Yeah.
what is normal, but like that is what I kind of envision. And so I think for
Mhm.
me this was like I've said Ewan's my favorite book boyfriend ever, or like book man. Like truly.
I can see
I
why.
listen, okay, I have it tabbed because like
Please
I
tell.
think the first thing, well, first of all, he quotes Princess Bride.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get that movie memorized. I was like, what do you mean you quote my favorite line? What so? No, but okay, so for our listeners who don't know, I've the last 10 years spent doing food security work and doing a lot in food system work and trying to social justice through a food lens, right? And so when he says like when Clementine says when they're first meeting, she's like, I'll be uncultured for the rest of my life. And he responds back, a few of my friends would argue that you can't be uncultured in food because the idea of cultured food derives from the gentrification of recipes in general. I was like, swoon. It's like, swoon. What do you mean? Oh my gosh, I want to sit at this man's table and I want him to cook and I want us to talk about food and like how
Yeah.
like the injustice of food, but also like how food should be with like when we talk about the injustice of food, let's not villainize food because food is amazing. But like I was like, this man
Can
spoke
we
to a
can we
very deep part of my heart.
can we talk about the food for a second? Because if you can't tell, if you haven't read the book and you're listening, he is a chef. And I mean, he's cooking all the time in the apartment. He
Yeah.
cooks meals
Mm-hmm.
constantly. And she does such a very good job of juxtaposing the food he cooks in the apartment and the food he cooks out in the real world as a chef. And one of my favorite examples is the beginning when they're at the restaurant and they order the lemon pie, which is that
Mm-hmm.
like deconstructed, like lemon, fancy dessert. And then later he makes her a lemon pie.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, I mean, I was like salivating as she's like describing this pie because it sounded so amazing. But anyways, she, she used food so cleverly as
Mm-hmm.
a literary device to show character change and also just to highlight like I just loved the highlight of how important sitting down for a meal together is. They would sit and eat and talk, you
Yeah.
know?
Or
And
just
I
more
love
of
this
like
so
how
much.
food isn't just food, right? Like
Hey, well, you
it
and I
isn't
know
it,
this.
right. 100%. And right, the whole like I my food journey with food is very, very interesting, right? But it's and food sometimes can be your enemy and sometimes it can be your best friend, but it can be a very much an experience. I think to the idea like why I picked food as my way to go in social justice work. That's a long story, but I part of it is this ability to come to the table, and it is
Yeah.
innately a human experience. It's on, Maslow's like hierarchy of needs. It's essential. It's a human right. And I think at the end of the day, like it can be that great equalizer too, of like we all have to come to the table and eat. So it is a way to experience people in a new, like in the most human way.
Yeah.
Um, and like the stories that can be told through food, just the, I loved it because I have developed a great love for food over my life for many different reasons, but the foodie in me loves the way he describes it, the way he like
Yeah.
talks about romance and chocolate, the lemon pie, which
Yeah.
when we post this episode, I will also post like a picture of the lemon pie. So I developed because he talked about it so much, like you said, I was salivating, and I adapted a key lime pie recipe into a lemon pie recipe and made my like played in the kitchen and figured out my own lemon whipped cream to go with it because I was like, and so usually when I read this book, I also make a lemon pie to go with it so I can eat at the same time. And I figured out like a summer fettuccine recipe and like things because they do talk about it. And I do think some of my fondest memories growing up are memories of like food I experienced with my family or meals I shared with friends. And so, like I think about like I make my granny's dinner rolls, but they'll never be anybody else's. Like they never taste the same because they're not made by her. And like there's that special thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that and here the nostalgia in this book is so good because even when describing the setting of New York and like the setting in the apartment, it makes the book gives you a sense of nostalgia for a place you've never been, but you feel like you
Yeah.
know. And I think
Yeah.
her
So
writing
true.
does a really beautiful job of that. And like there's the nostalgia in the food. There's the nostalgia in the apartment. Like I always like when I read it, I'm like, oh, I just need to go to New York today.
I know. It definitely made me miss New York. I was
Hmm.
like, I want to go. I've been wanting to go. It's been a while since I've been there,
Same.
since the girls were little, and I've been missing New York, and this book made me
Hmm.
miss it even more, let me tell you.
Oh, same. Same. I haven't been to New York in, oh my goodness, it's been almost 20 years. It's been too long. And so like,
I know.
but I went at such a crucial time for me, like when I was 17 and I went in July and like spent 3 days there, kind of trying to figure out that crucial, like who I was going to be and like how could I experience the world in a very different way than I've experienced it here in Texas. And it was a
Yeah.
really, like, it stands out very pivotal to me. So this book brings back kind of that nostalgia too for that summer. So I think, yeah, these are some of the things I just really love about her writing, but I think that also make the book very endearing. Is there anything you would have liked to change or see unfold differently in the book?
No,
Great.
I don't think
Moving on.
so. I don't think so. I did hate, I will say the scene that like wrecked me was when she went to find the lady that her aunt had known through the apartment.
Vera, hmm.
Ugh, wrecked me.
Were you surprised to know the deeper levels of connection there?
Yes, I was starting to
Okay.
suspect. I was starting
Hmm.
to suspect, but yes, I thought that was insane.
Hmm.
Um, which is like it was like one of those things where it's like everybody comes into your life for a reason. You may just not know it right
Hmm.
now. And that's
Yeah.
what like immediately what I thought was, you
Yeah.
know, they weren't meant to be together because they were meant to be together.
I watched this amazing short film once about like the 5 times you meet someone,
Oh,
which I think this book does a great job because we now see like all these little micro meetings that happen that kind of
hmm.
lead to this bigger relationship. But each of those meetings was very important. And so yes, I agree with you. I think like the Vera connection was so good. And I loved the closure it brought Clementine in a way, but
Yeah.
also like kind of a new way to experience her aunt and when she wasn't able to experience her aunt anymore, like have build that
Yeah.
relationship deeper.
It's interesting because I'm thinking about it, and I don't think I made this connection when I was reading it, but we're so focused on his journey and how he was like this young, carefree, experimental chef, and then he became like this
Mhm.
stuffy whatever. And I mean, and I obviously I knew it, but like you think about it, and I think that was the whole thing with her aunt. That was what she was struggling with, is because her aunt knew a different version of her, and she didn't
Mhm.
recognize who she was anymore in her current
Mhm.
job situation. And so it's interesting because they both kind of went on the same journey. And
Mhm.
now I'm like, it's kind of fascinating how angry she would get at him, you know, in the present. And it was like, you're doing the same thing, girl.
Right. I think that's the only thing that sometimes I don't know if it's like I get upset with Iwan, and I'm not saying that because I just think he's so swoon worthy, and I'm excusing his behavior. Like obviously the guy had changed a lot, but I think Clementine's resistance to change is also sometimes I felt like she was unfair to him because he
Right.
had changed and she was mad at him for being human and like having this 7-year change. And she's like, but I want you to this way. And he's like, but that's not who I am. And I liked that kind of being the conflict and forcing her to grow a little bit too.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
again, like we said, there's so many times like the female's always perfect and she never does anything wrong, or like it's never painted as she does anything wrong. And you're sitting there going, girl, you're doing stuff wrong, but everybody makes you out to be a saint. You're not a saint. And like, I'm not saying Clementine's bad at all. I really enjoy her. I think she's excellent. But I think it was good to have a little bit of it be she needed to adapt.
Dude. And like, I still can't get over how awkward it must have been to like sleep with him, when he was
I love
however,
that scene. It
and
makes
then
me giggle every time.
go and see him the next day and be like, guess what I did with you? Wait.
Where she's like, and
I
he's
know.
like,
And that
he's
must have
like,
been so
that
painful
night.
for him. Yeah, that must have been so painful for him. Talk about like, yeah, because he would have been like, "Oh my God, I'm remembering all of it, and I'm sad I wasn't there, but it was there, but it wasn't there." You know what I mean?
But in the end, when they finally get to meet in the present and have that moment again, and his tattoo reveal,
Yeah, yeah,
so good.
it is
So
also
good.
good.
It really
Yeah.
is. So overall, how would you rate this book? Because I
Oh,
know a
this
lot of
is
people who hate it. So I really went in kind of nervous because I
gosh, no, this was probably one of my favorite books I've read this year so far. So definitely 5 stars for me. Yeah.
yeah, this is a 5 star.
Yeah. I also follow the author on Instagram, and I think I want to be her friend. She's
Right?
adorable.
She's
I just,
amazing.
yeah, she's super cool. Her videos are funny. She's super herself. I
Mhm.
want to be friends with the person who wrote this book. I think,
Yeah.
as a writer, we read these books, and I definitely have these moments where like we'll read an author and I'll be like, I'll almost like get upset because I'll be like, I'll never be able to write as good as this. And this was definitely one of those books where I read it and I was like, God, this is what I aspire to. Just the craft, the detailing, the thoughtfulness that you could see in it. And it's kind of got my wheels turning a little bit because I'm writing the second book in my series, and I have people who are trying to figure out what they are in the future, in the present, but they have a past that we don't know about because it happened behind the scenes in the first book. And I've been trying to figure out how to deal with that. And I don't know. So it's turning the wheels a little bit, you know. How can we explore what happened in a way that isn't time hopping? We shall
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Oh, now I'm very interested in your second book. So I'm like, wait a minute, I know what characters this are, and what do you mean? Tell me more. Do you need another beta reader?
I do. I do. Let me get some chapters down and I'll give them to you.
Oh.
It's very messy. I'm in that drafting phase where you're just like getting it on paper,
Yes,
and
and
I'm
then it's
writing.
like the cleanups happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm writing this really great chapter, and it's literally just dialogue because I haven't done any other writing in between. I'm just trying to get out the conversation. And I was reading it back the other day, and I was reading it out loud to my daughter, and she was like, "Mom, this is good." And I was like, "Thank you. Thank you. I needed that. I needed that boost."
There you
So,
go.
yes, I'll definitely share it with you.
Um, well, okay, I guess we'll put 7 Year Slip on our book club shelf, even though I'll be honest, this book is
Aw.
never far away from me, and I have it on audiobook, and every once in a while I just download it again to re-listen to a few chapters to bring me. I'm very excited for you to explore more of her work. I've not read her latest 2 books, but I have read everything else. So
Oh, you have? Okay. Yeah, I haven't read anything of hers. This was the first book of hers that I read. She's been on my list forever because I see her books around all the time. So
Mhm.
I am very excited to dive into her other stuff because I really liked her writing style.
I was gonna say, I think her Star Wars book could be fun. And we
Didn't that just come
pull,
out?
yeah, and we pull in your oldest daughter as a big Star Wars fan to read it with us.
Oh my gosh, yes, that would be
That can be fun.
hilarious. She
Yeah.
knows more about Star Wars than anybody, you guys. Like, I
Well,
think, I wish there was like a career where she could just like have Star Wars facts because she
that's
would
what
ace it.
I know sometimes because I've been on a very long I'm trying to watch everything in chronological order, but they keep bringing out new material and it's just a lot of content. And sometimes I'm like, I need to text her and be like, can you help me remember this detail? Or like, also, can we talk about this? Because I watched this and now I have a whole new understanding of this and I have no one to talk to about it. So
Yeah, no, you should definitely. She would love that. Like I said, she knows like the stuff that nobody would know, like the lore and the stories. It's insane. So yeah, I'm excited to read that book of Ashley Poston's because I saw her post about it on Instagram the other day, and I was like, wait a minute, is that a Star Wars book?
it's a
So,
Star Wars YA romance novel. And I was like, absolutely, will I get that? Yes.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Ready to announce our August book? Are
Oh
we good?
yes, go for it. I'm so excited.
Sweet. Oh, wait, I prepared nothing, but I'm going to hold up the book. We are going to read Practical Magic by
Woohoo!
Alice Hoffman. Because both you and I discovered this movie late in life,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to read the book because why not? Practical Magic 2 is coming out in September.
Yep.
I feel ready for fall, even though fall's not ready for me. So we're gonna force it.
Yeah, I literally just watched this movie last year for the first time. I am very late to the game, but I think
It's
that
only been 2 years for me, so there you go. I
yeah,
watched it for the
I
first
think
time 2 years ago.
a lot of these movies I probably wasn't encouraged to watch. We were both kind of raised in a very religious environment and they're witches. So, but yeah, I had a whole witchy moment last year and I watched Practical Magic and the Craft for the first time and absolutely loved it. So I'm super excited to read the book. I didn't realize it was a whole series of books. Did you know this?
I did when I found out first it was a book and then realized there was a whole series. And I've already
Yeah.
seen some interesting feedback about the second movie and how they've really adapted the story to be something very different. And so I will be
Okay.
curious. So I'm like, okay, so we got to read this one and then I will explore that later because I'm very, very curious.
Yeah,
Anyway,
interesting. Interesting. I'm excited to dive into it with you. So, should be fun.
yay. We'll have to post a margarita recipe or something. I'll figure out.
Oh, love that. Yeah, midnight margaritas. Here for it.
I'm just gonna say your husband makes really good cocktails. Maybe he should develop the recipe.
Yeah, he makes amazing drinks. He made one the other day that he named for me.
That's
It's
so
called the
cute.
Caroline. Yeah, it's very strong.
I like that though. I would be mad if somebody made me a drink and named it after me and it was not something strong because I'd be like, what do you how do you view me? Are you saying I'm weak? I don't like
Right.
this.
Yeah, no, he was like, you need all the things. So, yeah, so please come join our book club. So, this was a peek into how we a book, which is, pretty analytical. We can be very analytical. We can also have a lot of fun. And with our book club on Patreon, our goal is to have a private book club meeting once a month. So come join us, be on the lookout for that. And yeah, go pick up the next book because
Yeah.
it's going to be good.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for book club. Please come actively join us on Patreon. We'd love to have the conversation with you because that is what we're going to do. It's going to be a Zoom call and we're going to have it all together and, swap recipes and share the feelings over good food.
Love it. I love it. All right. See you next time.
Bye. You keep on using that word. I do not know. I do not think it means what you think it means. But
he quotes, and I was like, I use that quote all the time.
That is my favorite quote. Can I tell you? Hey, ambitious readers, before you go, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Bookish Ambitions Podcast. And if you haven't joined our Patreon, what are you waiting for? Jump on over. It's where we have our book club and our bonus after the podcast episodes. So be sure to check it out. Thank you so much for supporting our podcast. Be sure to share, like, and review, and we'll be back next week with another episode.